My name is Xin Liu. I'm from University of Pennsylvania. I'm studying mechanical engineering PhD program. I'm related. My field is relating to the nano friction, nano tribology. So first I heard about the field of nano tribology rather than tribology itself because my advisor, he's doing nano tribology stuff using SPM, scanning probe microscopy techniques, and ever since I joined the group, I got to know nano tribology and then also tribology itself. So I heard about the STLE because of my co-workers. They were closely participating the conference each year. My post is focused on the friction and adhesion of two-dimensional materials, and as you can see, we listed a couple of two-dimensional materials, and one of them is one prominent example is graphene, which has many physical properties that are way better than other materials that we know. So all these materials have high potentials in future electronics and mechanical devices and so on. So we used AFM technique to study the friction and adhesion of these materials. So as you could see here, AFM, the working principle of AFM is using a cantilever to scan over the sample, and by shining a light laser on the backside of the cantilever, which is flexible in this side, you can measure the topography, you can measure the friction, and using the same technique, we can measure the adhesion of the surface. So we made a few discoveries, and one is that the friction is layer dependence. So the layer number, the higher the area, for example, in this case is four layers, we have lowest friction, and that's universal for the materials that we have studied. And so if you see the friction, which is related to the amount of energy that's dissipated, is the thinner the sheet, the more energy you're dissipating. So that's pretty striking, and that we think it's related to the so-called puckering effect, which you can see in the following. If the sheet gets thinner, you have higher area that's puckering because of sliding of the AFM tip. And since this area is creating a larger contact area, and therefore we measure higher friction, and we see that on all these materials. Also, we saw that the so-called strengthening effect, which is related to the static friction, is building up as long as the sliding proceeds, and that's also for all these materials. And we see a sliding history dependence on that the tilting, which is we call the strengthening effect. And so here you see at the beginning of the scan, the friction is not tilted much, but as the scanning proceeds, it's getting tilted. The one thing is that the friction is dependent on the layer thickness.
Okay.
That's a very striking that we didn't expect it. So other than friction, we also measured adhesion, and that turns out to be also sliding history dependent. As you see here, we measure the pull-off forces of these materials, in this case just graphene, and as you see, after sliding, the first pull-off force is much higher than the subsequent ones. And we think that's related to this effect too, because here you see at the beginning is nothing happening yet, but as long as the sliding proceeds, you see the effect. And that we think is all caused by the puckering effect. So we find, kind of two evidences for this proposed mechanism. With the current nanotechnology trend in the nanotechnology, people want to scale down the electronic devices or mechanical devices, and in that case, the surface phenomena become more prominent because you have higher surface to volume ratio. And that's why we really need to think how it's going to affect, the performance of the devices in terms of friction, adhesion, and wear. So we think, since we found this thickness dependence, we think there's a way we can control friction at the nanoscale, and that's very important because you on one hand you don't want to blow up the device too much because you want to keep it small, right? And that's why you need to think rationally how you gonna design the devices.